Hi guys, good afternoon. Good evening, sorry, this is evening already. I hope you are doing good. Um, I think it's already 7 o'clock, so I'll start with our today's discussion session. Um, if someone else wants to join, they can probably join in later. Just go ahead with whatever I wanted to cover today. So today's session is mainly about industry opportunities, and probably my experiences with the industry in general, um, and how you can probably find appropriate job that gives you job satisfaction and helps you make progress in your career. So it's a general talk. I don't think we need to cover any specific technical details. In terms of the Python adoption and how industry is using Python to do a variety of things, I think we have discussed these in good details earlier. But today's session, I'll probably mainly talk about different opportunities that you may have in the industry and how you can explore the market and try to find out the, the groove that can help you settle into. In terms of my experience, probably I'll just start with how I got into this data science area and then try to explain how I moved through different roles to reach where I am at the moment. And then we'll talk briefly about opportunities at Accenture and in general other industry outside Accenture, and then probably how you can make the most of what you've learned in this course, um, and how you can find the best job that suits your skill set at the moment. So, as we discussed earlier, I think Python is used everywhere. No skill that you bring in is useless when you learn Python. If you're from engineering background, learning Python and having the skills of software engineering development will be immensely useful because all the software development mostly um, uh, across all the sectors in the industry is moving towards utilizing Python to do the development. If you get into data science, Python is already a well established tool there. And similarly, in the space of AI, Python is one of the go to tools apart from very specialized, highly specialized tools that are present there, but many of them are just in the development stages and not as well developed as Python. So, since we have discussed this in great details, I will not like to spend too much time on this again and repeat the same things. But in terms of my experiences with the industry, I can say that even though I come from an academic background, like I finished my PhD and then while finishing my PhD, I was working as a teaching assistant, and probably the most logical way forward for me was to act as a teacher, get into teaching, and probably look for some tenure position somewhere. But I was in two minds whether to get into teaching or into industry, and luckily that decision was sort of made for me by the company that I worked with, who which had generously offered me a scholarship when I was doing PhD, and at the end of my course, they offered me a job position with one of the prominent research groups in that company. And there was nothing to say no because the rest of the terms were very good. The work was challenging, and it was carrying out research in the corporate setup. And so there was everything going good for me, and I just took that up and decided to try it out. So I joined that company, worked with them for about 3 years, and then 3.5 years. And I learned a lot of things actually in my first job. I would say that I built my basics during my PhD, and then learned the basics of corporate behavior during my first job. And that job was, even though it was related to network systems management group, most of the work was indirectly related with data analytics in one sense. Like I was working on analyzing data to make the operating system, network operating systems fault tolerant and proactively fault tolerant. So there was predictive element involved in that and so on. So that taught me a lot about predictive analysis and prescriptive analysis and um, how to build models at a very large level and so on. So that was important for me as a skill which I used extensively when I decided to move out from that company to some other organization, which was again a research lab. And it was a good experience to work with the customer analytics group of a research lab, a globally renowned research lab, where the product development was carried out by taking into consideration the inputs from the customers of the product of that particular company, and mainly handling customer data, trying to exploit the customer data to generate insights that help new product development, old product updates, and optimizing the business processes was something that I learned there and used extensively during the second job. After working there for about 4.5 years, I decided to move out again because the work was getting repetitive, and they decided to move to a consultancy, one of the prominent consultancies in the world, one of the big fours, which I worked with, and that's where I learned and used skills in natural language processing, and in general got my exposure to um, artificial intelligence technologies. Even though I knew theoretically what AI is all about, I knew the principles behind AI techniques. I had a bit of exposure to embedded systems and robotics development in my pre-PhD job, which I did for about a year and a half after my post graduation. Even though I had dabbled into these areas, still by the time I moved into my third job, the field of AI had moved um, substantially ahead, and it was very useful to actually work on real life practical problems in the industry, apply the skills that I had gathered over the number of years, and solve problems using advanced um, optimization methods and natural language processes and so on. Now, by no means I'm saying that these are the only things that you will need to do to feel happy. This is what I felt happy doing. Your happiness may lie into anything into other fields like software development or product development, or maybe some tools development or some app development for mobile, or something entirely different for business processes, or to to do something like weather predictions, some esoteric things like weather predictions and so on. So it's entirely up to you. One thing that you should just remember that probably at this moment, Python is one of the most important go-to tools that you can use to achieve whatever you want to achieve. It provides you with a stepping stone in the industry. I'm not sure how many of you work in industry at the moment in in in, in some role, and how many of you use Python as a tool. But if you are directly or indirectly associated with the industry, then you already know what it takes, and you can definitely add on to your role by acquiring these skills that you have acquired in this course or are working to acquire in this course. If you are just a new fresh grad who is just out of university, this will definitely help you get into the industry and um, uh, push you onto a good career path in the future, because this is the language of the future. These are the techniques that the future is looking forward to, and this future you will be mostly using these techniques that you have learned here, and this language will be a good instrument for you to take you there. Um, then after that, I moved here to Australia, and since then I've been working with Accenture about 5 years now. Work in variety of areas, variety of domains, using variety of techniques. Mostly the tool of choice is at the moment Python, because it's all encompassing, and it helps us to develop solutions um, across the globe with our teammates that are spread across the globe. So that way it helps us, and there are a number of opportunities that we work on at Accenture. They are from different domains. Most of them need some AI based or advanced machine learning based solutions, and it's a pretty good experience that I have at this moment with this particular skill that I have obtained, I've acquired over the last few years. So briefly, in general, I'll say that um, if you are focused on getting into industry, if you are not a part of the industry, or if you're a part of the industry and you want to move into something like data science or AI development, then if you just focus on what you have been asked to do in this course and learn those skills and try to apply it in practice, it should be good enough. And to do the practice, to carry out some projects, you don't even need to have live projects at the moment. There are several websites. One of them is Kaggle, for example, where you can just create an account, take up the data sets they offer, and work on it to obtain the initial solutions, present it to the larger team, or present it to the other competitors and get insights from them around problems you might have faced, or the way you have tackled the issue, and see if they have handled the issue in some other way, and learn from them and so on, and in turn contribute. And then there's some other tools available in the market, something like Git. I'm sure some of you might already be members of GitHub, and some of you might already have Git accounts, and that's a great way of um, working on projects, keeping track of your development, and storing the different versions of the work you've been doing, and then going back to the different versions to assess what went right and what went wrong, and to correct the mistakes, and then go to the next stage by learning from your mistakes. So there are several tools. I'm giving out these names as an example, but there are several tools, and I'm sure if you search for it, you'll find lots of them. In terms of opportunities in the industry, yeah, we discussed lots of those things, in not so much in direct terms, but indirectly, as I show you on this particular slide, that in different parts of the industry, different types of opportunities are available, and you can just choose some area according to your interests, get some experience by working on some projects, and approach the right organizations. Does not necessarily need to be a corporate industry, but it could be academic institution which you can reach out to, have adequate skill sets and have adequate academic credentials. Then you can get into them and do whatever you want to do. In terms of the opportunities available at Accenture, we do keep on looking for good people throughout the year. We generally are technology agnostic, because um, Accenture is a consultancy, and for us, the client's requirements are of paramount importance. If the clients asks us to do to development to carry out the development of the solution by using some specific set of tools because of certain legacy issues or some kind of a agreement between the other toolkit and the concerned client, then we do go ahead with it. But if there are no such constraints, which mostly are not, then we prefer to go ahead with either Python or R, because most of the projects that I work on or my team works on are basically they fall into data science or artificial intelligence area. But there are several other groups within Accenture who are into interface development or some kind of underlying software product development or some kind of a visualization product development and so on. And many of them are familiar with Python, very well versed with Python, and they use Python as their go-to to develop those things. So in that sense, we do look for people with some specific skill sets, but if you bring in some esoteric skill sets, we are okay with those two, because there's nobody who is not useful for Accenture. We have some project from everyone. So whatever skill sets you bring in, there are several people who are very good in excellent in Excel and R-based analysis. There are few people who are very good in just PowerPoint and Word and Excel products, and we do need them too. There are few people who are very good in SQL and so on. So no skills go unrequired in Accenture. So from that point of view, we are always open. If you have aspirations to move into corporate industry, something like consultancy, and see for yourself how the life in corporate consultancy is, then by all means you can reach out to me. You can forward your CVs, and I can take it forward and make you go through the interview process quickly and see if it's suitable. We can just hire people if we find them suitable. But that's not the only way you can utilize your skills. You can also get into some industry. The difference between consultancy and industry is that um, in the industry, there is always a focus, some specific focus on work, and you can go in step by step to the next level when you are working in the industry. What I mean by industry is companies that have their own products, companies that have their own data sets, companies that have their own resources to work on the data and so on. So, for example, something like automotive manufacturer company, they have their own products, they have their own data sets, they have their own everything. That's an industry. Companies like, for example, e-commerce companies, the big e-commerce companies, they collect their own data sets and they have their own way of analyzing that data and utilizing those insights into reaching out to the customers in different ways. So you can take a look at the industry at a higher level, find out what is your passion. Maybe you are interested in finance companies, for example. So there are several banks that have their own data sets. There are several financial organizations that provide support to the customers or provide guidance to the people on financial investments and so on. And all of them require people who are well versed with computers and can use some language or some other tools to develop some specific set of tools. That is industry. In the industry, you can work on something for about 6 months and then find ways in which that particular tool or analysis that you carried out over the last 6 months, you can find out how it works, what are the problems, where are the gaps. You can carry those out, analysis out, and in the next phase, take care of removing those gaps, developing a better version and get in a steady progressive way and reach the end of the development cycle of that particular product. In corporate consultancy, life sometimes does not go according to these guidelines. Life is substantially different in corporate consultancy industry as against the normal industry. In consultancy, it is quite possible that you may get to work on some project for a limited period of time because it's something that is a service offered to the client. So it cannot go on indefinitely. In few cases, it goes on for a longer period of time, more than 3 months, 6 months, or 1 year, or 1.5 years, and 2 years. But those cases are not not very regular. They are unusual cases, and they just appear once in a while. Usually, what we work on is we try to find out problems. Approach is basically to find out problems, find out the best solution, move in, quickly deploy, and get out. It's sort of SWAT team versus regular police team. Industry Working at the industry is more like regular policing the operations and in general watching over everything continuously over a period of time. Whereas working in the consultancy industry is like working as a SWAT team. We just move in with specialized skills, quickly work on solving the problem, deploy the solutions, and get out. So both these options have their own pros and cons, or both these options have um, their own set of characteristics. Um, Sometimes it may get very busy for you when you are working in the consultancy, and sometimes you may be extremely relaxed as compared to the industry person. Whereas when you are working in the industry, your life is like more like a stable, steady flow of life, working like 9 to 5 job, you're out by 5, working at 9 o'clock, and so on. That does not mean that we in the consultancy industry work for long hours every day. It's once in a while, probably about once in 3 4 months, that we may have to spend time more after 5 o'clock. Or whenever I'm talking with you guys, then only I work after 7 o'clock. But otherwise, mostly I don't. Um, but once in a while, if there is a requirement, then we do put in those efforts because solving the problem is our first priority, and it's a kind of challenging situation to be in, which I like personally, and I'm sure many of you must like it because that's one of the reasons why you decided to take this course and upgrade your skills, which in itself is a positive sign. So I would I would I would say that most of the people who are like so much interested in improving their profile would also be interested or would also be happy to solve different challenges, tackle different challenges, and feel that satisfaction of solving the problems. So I would say it would be a very rewarding career option if you choose to explore opportunities in the consulting industry. But that's not the only place which will give you this kind of exposure. Um, as everything in life, there are always other options, and in the industry also. I found it to be very rewarding when I was working with the industry as well, and I found equally rewarding when I'm working with the consultancy. So it's up to you. Take the call, um, build your profile, try to explore different data sets that are available online, build some tools, and just create a GitHub, um, um, and store all your development work, everything there for easy reference of others. Um, you can include that in your CV, and it is held in high esteem when you have these kind of things available, and when you are shown, when you are ready to show yourself as a proactive and highly capable resource, then definitely there is that plus associated with that kind of activity. So I hope you get all that you want out of this course. If you need any help about the course or the things we have spoken about, you can always reach out to me. Even otherwise, also, if you want to explore opportunities at Accenture, you can always reach out to me, or you can directly reach out to HR. Our HR units are um, extremely efficient. They'll reach out to you quickly, and even I can also take it forward. I can offer you that help. Don't hesitate to explore these opportunities if you want to. Um, and with that, probably I think I have covered whatever I wanted to cover and wanted to give you a message about openness of the industry, but in particular Accenture as an option. You can probably think about it and get back to me if you want to explore that. If you have any questions now, I'll be happy to respond to those questions now, or you can reach out to me via the usual channels. An email will also be fine if you want to reach out to me. I'm not sure if you have access to my email, but if you want, you can um, get it. Um, I think it's on the Slack channel. I think it is on, but if it is not there, then my email ID is k.a.patil@accenture.com. That's k.a.patil@accenture.com, and I'll be happy to help you guys. Are there any questions that you want me to respond to now? So yeah, this question is about what about an industry insider do not have any IT degrees but like tinkering. So yeah, that is one point that probably I should cover now while I'm talking about these things, is because I've seen that many people have this kind of misconception that you definitely need to have an IT degree to enter into um, the data science industry or the AI industry or the software development industry and all. I don't think that is true, because I have seen many people who um, have some esoteric backgrounds, like some philosophy or some history background, and they come into this field by learning, taking one of these courses, and then they do extremely well. So I don't think that should be a problem, as long as you continue developing your skills, you continue maintaining some kind of Git account and store your code there where people can go and look at your skill sets, and they can reach out to you, and they can reach out to you via LinkedIn and so on. And as long as you have that inquisitive mind and you are ready to put in the efforts, I don't think that's a blocker. I don't see that as I don't see that it will block you for an unlimited period of time. There might be some companies that will put um, restrictions on these things, but not all of them. For example, Accenture doesn't have any restrictions in terms of background. We just look for people who are really skilled. We might have some conditions on the experience that we look for experienced positions in particular, but that can be very easily responded to by taking a position that will allow you to at least get into the organization and build up from there. And I have seen many people make very, very fast progress after getting into an organization and moving up quickly above, because they are skilled enough, they are sincere, they are hardworking, and are ready to learn new things. So I don't see that to be a big problem, to be honest with you. So yeah, I would say this is one very, very interesting area, the healthcare systems. And this course would be really useful for you to use in the healthcare system. I think we had discussed about applications of IT into healthcare, right? You were saying, yeah, yes, sir. So um, in the healthcare, if you're presently employed in the same area, you can find out number of opportunities. Right? Healthcare is globally number one area where um, IT applications, AI applications, and data science applications are being adopted. Um, I think I discussed this in one of my slides to show that healthcare systems is one of the first healthcare industry is one of the first industries that has adopted IT, data science, and AI, and there are many projects that are in pilot mode, many projects that have already been deployed, developed, and so on. So you can definitely look forward to that, and there are lots of opportunities. In terms of opportunities at Accenture, there is a health and public sector group that's a very large group that day in and day out looks at opportunities in the healthcare systems. So you can explore opportunities at government organizations, for example. There are a number of government healthcare agencies that look for people with IT skills. If not, then you can look at consultancy options. There are people across all the consultancies all over the world that are looking for people with healthcare background who understand healthcare area and have some IT skills. Those people can be utilized very efficiently to in consultancies basically. And so you can explore those opportunities by probably visiting the web pages of these companies, the consultancy companies, and focus on um, healthcare, health and public sector areas, and then just reach out to people. You can reach out to me. Um, I can see if there is some suitable opportunity available within Accenture in health and public sector group. Um, Organizations in Australia, like for example, the DHS is one of them. Then the Digital Health Agency in Australia, Australian Digital Health Agency is the other one. In general, there are social um, sector units. All of them are into healthcare because that's the most important part of a society, right? So they are all into different capacities. They are all into healthcare areas. So you can find out more about them by going to their websites and try your best. All the best. Anything else? Cool. Thank you, guys. All the best. All the best wishes to you. And if you have any questions, any problems, you can get back to me. I can try to discuss those. Otherwise, all the best wishes. Bye bye.